You know, it'd be so good.
What?
If we did hot chocolate, but we used the Liberty Pole.
The bourbon
cream in it. Not for all the milk, of course. But
all of the milk.
All the milk. Hey guys, welcome back to the Lore Lounge. Kat just got back from Texas.
What's up?
How was Texas?
It was very fun.
What did you see in Texas?
I saw a lot of things. I saw a lot of nerds. I saw some fine chemical presentations, and I saw some haunted places.
Oh, well, see, now you gotta tell me about the haunted places.
Let's see. So, we actually went on like a after hours ghost tour of some of the most like haunted locations in downtown San Antonio, such as the Minger Hotel, the Alamo. Oh my goodness, the Emily Morgan Hotel.
I'm glad you remembered the Alamo.
You can't forget the Alamo.
We used to play a game at this indoor airsoft place up in Erie because my cousins live up there, and we were really into airsoft when we were teenagers. And it was a big place, but one of the game modes we had was called Alamo, and what you would do is you would take 5 to 8 people and stick them in the back in this one bunker, and then everyone else in the entire arena, which was usually like 50 people, would be on the other team with unlimited respawns, unlimited ammo, and the entire point of the game was that the people who were in the Alamo had to survive as long as they could. So naturally, like a rational person, when this game mode came up, I volunteered to be in the Alamo.
Of course you would.
We lasted a pretty long time, actually. It was probably like 10 or 12 minutes, which doesn't sound like that long, but when you think about what was going on, my favorite part was the guy with the riot shield was on our side. He's the only one that got taken out by a grenade. And yes, airsoft grenades exist.
I did not realize.
Yeah, this man, the rest of us, the grenade rolls in, the rest of us are like, oh shit, and like hide behind something.
Right.
He turns to it, points his riot shield at it, somehow still gets hit.
No!
We're like, dude. I was probably like the third to last person to get got, and I just got ripped up my side by like 2 people. Just
you're wearing like protect.
No, I had a vest, but it wasn't like body armor. It was just a tactical vest, so the sides were pretty open.
Ooh.
There was a time where we were playing a game that was based off of Normandy. It was we're running upstairs.
They have stairs?
Yeah, it was a big place. It was just literally this like warehouse that they turned into a farmer's market kind of deal, like a flea market almost, just every weekend. And in the back, where stuff would normally be stored, it was like a grocery store or something. In the back, they just built out this huge airsoft arena.
Oh my god!
It was so much fun.
I'm picturing like laser tag.
Think much more like burned out cars and plywood.
Really?
Yeah. My friends and I also we went to do airsoft at I think it was Skirmish, which is up in like Schwenksville. It's a lot of fun. We've gone paintballing there too. We should go over the summer. It's like
absolutely go
so much fun. But we we're out there like just screwing around, having a good time, and we would go wherever the paintball players weren't that round. So there'd be paintball on all the other maps, and we'd be wherever they weren't.
Yeah.
And I was there with a few of my friends, my friend Tommy, who's obscenely good at just about everything he ever tries to do. And this man volunteers to take the bomb in this one game mode. We had to get from one side of the map, we had to, like, a quarter mile away, the other side, through a wooden village that had been constructed to plant this bomb on the roof of a tower.
Was it a real bomb?
I mean, it looked like a pipe bomb, but it wasn't real, obviously. But so Tommy volunteers to take it. And the teams were split half and half. There were probably 15 people on each team. And we decided, you know what, it's going to be stupid for us to just charge down into this village and fight each other and all that.
Yeah.
You know, we're going to get smoked. Like, it's going to be, the fighting's going to be too intense, and it's just not going to go well. So we agreed that Tommy, myself, and 3 of our other friends were all going to go around the side of the map while Tommy's older brother led the rest of the team and caused a distraction. The plan was they were going to charge down, make a lot of noise, make it seem like everybody was there while we snuck around the side.
Gotcha, yeah. Tactical.
Yeah. One person had smoke grenades, which we were like, oh, that's awesome. Like, they'll think wherever the smoke grenades are, we should save those until midway through the match, just to cause a distraction. So the whistle goes off. We start running to the right to get around the edge of the map. Mm-hmm. And immediately they throw the smoke grenades. And it took another probably 25 or 30 minutes for Tommy, myself, and our 3 friends to army crawl through the woods to this tower before finally sneaking in. There's 2 12-year-olds on top of it, guarding it. And Tommy walks in and is just like surrender. They're like, it's the top of the tower.
You should have taken him out.
I got poison ivy. I broke my vest.
No mercy for the 12-year-olds. Just go for it.
Wendigo paintball session.
Oh my gosh! Well, you were talking about doing a meetup.
Oh my god! I would love to do Lore Lodge paintball. Are you kidding me?
Lore Lodge so paintball meetup.
That would be fantastic.
That would be amazing. I think we should make that happen.
100%. But tell me, I gotta know. Did you see any ghosts?
Okay, so I did not see any ghosts, nor was I able to capture any strange images on my phone camera, which was I very much attempted to do. I think like half of my camera roll at this point is just like pictures of like old creepy buildings.
Were you just hoping that you just take a bunch of pictures of stuff and like go back and look through them later and there would be ghosts?
Yes. That was what the tour guide actually recommended. So he was as he explained to us, like a sensitive. So he had, was like gonna give us the lowdown if there were like weird feelings. But he also had a tablet of pictures that either he had taken or people on previous tours had taken. And there were some really like jarring images, like shadow figures, no orbs. But there was one very distinct picture, and it was in, I want to say, the old sheriff's office, which has since been turned into a museum and was closed at the time that we visited. But there's these windows, and one of the pictures that was taken through the window had a very clear outline of a figure with, like, glowing orange eyes staring out from, like, behind one of the like walls.
And this was something that one of the other guests on the tour had taken previously.
It was something that another guest had taken previously, and it was so creepy. It was like just so incredibly.
Did you go in that building?
We did not go in.
Lame.
I know. But we took pictures. I took pictures through the same window that picture had been taken, and It was like slightly unsettling. I think the most unsettled I felt was outside the Emily Morgan Hotel. And she is famous for being like the Yellow Rose of Texas, if you've ever heard that song.
I have not.
I'm
gonna look it up.
It's a whole thing. It's a whole thing, but she was a famous figure in the history of Texas. Santa Ana had captured her, and the theory. One of the theories is like the reason why Mr. Houston was able to catch Santa Ana off guard was because Emily Morgan had distracted him in his tent, and he was caught unawares.
Spicy!
Very spicy. And what's spicier is apparently she had sent message to Sam Houston saying, if you come up between, these hours around this time, I'll have him distracted.
That is fantastic.
We love to see an empowered woman using her feminine wiles. But yeah, so that hotel
and she was black.
So that hotel now was originally though a hospital, and it had 14 floors, but there were really only 13 levels.
But they skipped the number 13.
They skipped the number 13.
As it goes.
And apparently on the 14th floor, which is really the 13th,
right?
They, if you go up there, you can smell like bandages and anesthetic. Like it still smells like an old hospital.
That's crazy.
And they've just spent like tons of money like trying to like repaint.
It's just never going away.
Remediate the odor, and just no, it just is going to smell like hospital forever.
That's insane.
So
it's probably like in the wood. Like,
could be, or it could be spirits.
That's true. There's also that opportunity.
There's been lots of sightings in that hotel.
Did you ever go to Pennhurst at all?
I've never been to Pennhurst, no.
So I've gone there 3 or 4 times. For those who don't know, for those tuning in who aren't from southeastern Pennsylvania, Pennhurst Asylum is an old insane asylum that is shut down. I think it shut down. The last patient left in the 80s, if I remember correctly. Which, when you think about it, is insane. Like, that is crazy that insane asylums were operating into the 1980s. Granted, they had much less of a homeless problem then, but they were also experimenting on people, so...
Yeah, it's bad. It's bad.
This is why I don't trust you STEM people. We're like, hey, can you please take care of the mentally ill? And you're like, yes, I'll take care of them, all right. And then you shock them to cure their schizophrenia.
You know...
They needed therapy, Kat.
Not to go off topic, but... There's a reason why there are a lot of really prestigious hotels in really terrible parts of the U.S. So, like, for example, Johns Hopkins in Baltimore. Baltimore's
rough.
Baltimore's rough. And the reason why Johns Hopkins is such a good hospital is because there are so many unclaimed bodies.
Oh, no, so they were just using, like...
They had so much access to cadavers to learn from, and that's why... Johns Hopkins is so prestigious now is because they were able to learn so much from the unclaimed dead.
That's upsetting.
Piled up in Baltimore, yeah.
That's upsetting.
It is upsetting.
Now I'm sad.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Anyway, on to Pennhurst.
Pennhurst, yeah.
So I haven't found any, like, genuine, like, horror stories about it the way that you have with a lot of asylums across the country where it's like just awful treatment of the patients. It definitely wasn't great, but it's not like... It
probably was not terrible in the 80s.
It wasn't the worst one by any stretch. But there was definitely some stress and some not great moments for the patients there, and the end result of this was that it got a reputation after it closed for being haunted. And I'm not sure exactly when the attraction opened, but for the past, as long as I can remember, at least since I was in high school and definitely earlier than that, it's become a Halloween attraction where they'll have actors and, you'll go, there's a tunnel of terror, which is, in one of the tunnels between these buildings. It's the most claustrophobic thing. I got chased by clowns. They cornered me. The clowns knew my name.
Oh, God. How did they know your name?
Okay, so this story. Okay, so I'm there with all my friends. It was our freshman year of college. It was October of our freshman year of college. I was 18 years old. I had just started, working out really consistently, but I also... Okay. No. So I was super fucking skinny.
Oh, okay. All right.
Like, I was not lifting much.
We are
running, and I was barely eating. I was so afraid of gaining the freshman 15 that I lost 30 pounds.
That's terrifying. Yeah, that's not healthy.
I am now 50 pounds heavier than I was.
Good job.
Freshman year of college.
Healing.
I put on a lot of muscle junior year.
Muscle. He's a buff boy.
But I've also put on some fat. I gotta fix that. I'm too lazy to work out though.
This ain't a goose
I just
suit,
love
people.
Wawa. I love cheesesteaks. How am I gonna? How are you gonna?
You shouldn't have to.
You can either get shredded or you can have cheesesteaks.
I would rather have cheesesteaks.
Personally.
Well, I would rather have like a veggie cheesesteak or a chicken cheesesteak.
Weird.
I just don't like the red meat.
You know what would be terrible?
What?
A fish cheesesteak. Could you imagine like a cheesesteak but it's made with salmon?
Salmon would not work. I'm trying to think if there's any fish
I
that
can't think
would
of a single fish that would work in a cheesesteak. It's just not dense enough. The texture would be off.
What about something like mussels?
You could, yeah, I guess you could do like mussel, and a po' boy is a thing.
A po' boy is a thing.
So I guess if you did like shrimp.
Shrimp. It's a shrimp and cheese though?
Yeah, I guess the cheese is the problem. Wow, we really do get sidetracked so fast. So what I was trying to say.
Pennhurst.
My friends and I are at Pennhurst. we're having a good time. I was really, really into one of the girls that we were going with. Okay. And I have been for like a year since high school. She was my senior prom date.
Not the one you...
If you're watching this, you know who you are. But, and I know you knew. Archie, calm down. So, we go into the Tunnel of Terror, and we get about halfway through. So, calm down. We get about halfway through, and at this point, some clowns emerge. And I'm not scared of clowns. I've never been scared of clowns. But when those clowns stand in your way, and the tunnel is full of fog, and you lose sight of your friends, who are now somewhere in the tunnel ahead of you.
They separated you between your...
And the clowns just multiply consistently. Like, it starts off, there's like a clown, then there were 3 clowns, then there were 5 clowns.
That is how they reproduce.
And, yeah, exactly. They reproduce asexually.
Exactly, they just divide.
They do a little honk-honk, and then there's 2. So these clowns with baseball bats kind of like form a semicircle around me, so I'm pressed up against the wall, and I'm like, I really don't want to be here right now. And they're laughing, they're taunting me, whatever. And then one of them goes, Aiden, are you scared? And I was like, how did you know my name? I was like, wait a second, how did you know that? And I'm like, at that point, that's when I started to freak out, because I was like, how does the clown know my name? So I'm at the point where I'm about to punch a clown. So finally I'm like, I don't want to be here anymore, and I just bolt out. I just like break through the circle of clowns.
Oh my god.
And I book it down the hall. And I run into the backs of my friends, and I'm like, oh my god, the clowns, they knew my name, how'd the clowns know my name? And they were like, I don't know, how did the clowns know your name? And then, like, they started making fun of it, and they were like, yeah, we were, we weren't sure where you went, so we started calling for you, and I was like, you motherfuckers, that's how they knew my name.
That's how they know your name.
I was like, oh, God. But yeah, so I went that time, I went again, a second time in college, and then I went this past October, and it was not scary the second time I went. Like, I guess I knew what I was supposed to be expecting. Mm-hmm. The third time, I made the mistake of going with a girl.
Like a singular girl?
Well, a girl and her best friend who tagged along with everything we did for the entire time we saw each other.
So you went with 2 girls, you dog!
In a sense.
Alright.
But yeah, so I guess.
One girl each to hold on to each arm.
But the girl I was there with.
Yes, okay, fine.
So first of all, she and I went to a bunch of haunted houses together. That's essentially all we did.
That's a strong. That's a bold thing to base a relationship on.
The most, for the first 2 months that we were seeing each other, it was September and October.
Cuffing season.
So all there is to do is Halloween stuff.
I mean, yeah, but there's things other than haunted houses. I've never been on a date to a haunted house.
It was a good time.
I'm a pumpkin patch
But
kind
here's
of girl.
the thing. Oh, Christian signed up as a Lorelai supporter. Thank you, Christian.
Oh, thanks, Chris.
So we're going through all these haunted houses, and I noticed after the second one, I was like, hang on, why am I always in the front? Why?
So that you got first,
exactly.
Obviously.
But then the girls started to realize that if there's a guy in the front and girls behind him, the actors notice, and they start going after the person in the back. So then I started to have to go in the back. And we somehow ended up in this situation in one of the haunted houses where no matter which order we went in, I somehow just got targeted. We did Field of Screams.
Well, because it's fun to go after. If I went to a haunted house and they went after me, I would just start crying. Yeah. That's a fact. That's all. That is the hard truth of the situation. That's fair. And then they would feel bad for making me cry.
Have you met the people who act at these things?
I volunteered for a haunted house.
I don't know if they necessarily ever feel
I've never been on the receiving end of haunting, but I have been on the haunting end of the haunting.
And how was it?
I mean, honestly, it was very fun. It was very, a fun, campy Halloween experience.
Fair enough.
To be on the receiving end, though, does not sound fun in the slightest.
It's fun if, if you don't feel like you're genuinely in danger. And there are some haunted houses that I've gone to. Oh, it's my mom. My mom as my stepdad. There were some haunted houses that we went to that, like, were the Pennhurst Asylum kind of thing. Where, like, you know that you're surrounded by actors and that everything that's going on is fake, but you still have this deep sense of dread because where you are, there's been weird stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
you're never certain.
Exactly.
What if this is the time it's a real ghost?
And with Pennhurst...
What if this is the time that's a real clown?
Exactly. Oh god, that would be horrible. Pennhurst, we went through the whole thing, and then we were trying to find a way back to the car, and we couldn't. We just kept getting, like, turned around. Because it's kind of confusing layout. Mm-hmm. But we ended up walking down past one of the buildings that's not being used, and the windows that lead into the basement are broken. So you can just see straight in. Like, you could just climb down there if you wanted to.
Big yikes. For the record.
Oh, yeah. There's exactly one time in my life where I felt more unsettled than I did when I was standing at one of those windows, like, peering down into... And they lead ghost tours of some of these buildings.
Right.
But where they're like, this is actually a haunted building. But this was one of those buildings, but it was part of the building they don't take you to.
Because it's too haunted for the general public.
And you know our friend Sam from downtown?
Ah, yes.
Yes, tall
yes,
Sam
yes.
with the facial hair.
Yeah.
Yes.
What's up, Sam?
He was telling me about he did some work for a TV show that did an episode on Pennhurst Asylum, and he was one of the sound guys, and he was telling me that, like, outside of the actual filming of everything, there was constant weirdness. Like, even when the cameras weren't rolling, he was like, there was a soccer ball that got kicked out of the woods. Nobody was there.
It could just be kids messing around.
That's the thing is he
trying
was
to make it on TV, especially if they know that like a show is going to be there.
Yeah, but at the same time, what if it wasn't kids messing around in the woods?
Because a sane asylum ghost is going to choose a soccer ball to, like...
Don't question the ghost. You don't know the ghost's motives.
I don't know. Maybe they were obsessed with soccer.
Exactly.
Right. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're
See?
right.
I bet you feel silly now.
I do feel silly.
But yeah, that is second only to the time that I was playing Manhunt with my friends that I told you about, where the chair skittered across the floor behind me. I was like, not a fan of that.
Ugh.
There's been a few other times, especially in the stacks at Penn State, in the library. There is obviously the very famous murder that happened down there that's unsolved. But there's also just, if you're down there, there's just, you'll just feel like...
It's a bad vibe. The energy is off.
It does not feel right. It just feels like something bad happened down there, because obviously it did. But at the same time, it's just like, you don't like it. You don't like being down there. You don't enjoy it. And oddly enough, I've never felt that here. Like, in Phoenixville.
Really?
Yeah. Which I think is weird. But, considering how old the town is, like, I would expect that there would be something where I ran. We did have the Devon Horse Show, which is, I grew up down the street from it. Very, very distinct feeling of, like, something's not right here.
Dread, yeah.
We used to go in there, partially because it was dark and creepy, and we would, like, sneak in as teenagers and just kind of run around and be like, ooh, haunted. But one time...
Did you say it's a horse show?
Yeah. It's one of the biggest horse shows in the world, actually. It's an Olympic qualifier for the U.S.
Really?
Yeah. My friends and I lived down the street from it, so we would go and get food.
So it's like stable. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Sneak into the like box seats and do all the stuff that kids
sneak
do.
into box seats?
Yeah. So what happened was
do this as a kid. Okay, go on.
We were like 17. One of our friends was working the elevator that took you up to the box seats.
Okay, so that you had an inside guy.
We had an inside man, so we dressed up really nice. We wore blazers and shoots and blazers and nice shoes and like nice pants, and we looked very dapper. And we went with our friend Zoe, who was an equestrian herself, so she knew all the lingo and like where to sit and the etiquette. Nobody even suspected that we might not actually be like supposed to be there, especially because the idea of a bunch of kids with daddy's money wasn't exactly surprising. But we didn't actually have daddy's money. we just had a friend who was getting paid $15 an hour to work the elevator, which was brilliant. It was fantastic. It was actually really fun to watch from up there. You could actually see everything. My stepdad saw Bruce Springsteen there once.
What?
Yeah. Apparently his daughter rides. Do we have a premiere going up right now?
Oh, what?
That's not supposed to be happening. Let me check.
Live premiere? You heard it here first?
There is a live premiere. I just got to figure out when it's supposed to be going up and if it's in half an hour or if it's right now. Because if it's right now, we'll just go over and switch to that.
Was this pre-scheduled or is this like Tech Aiden messing with us?
This was pre-scheduled, but my assumption was that it was scheduled for 8. It may have been scheduled for now. So it's scheduled. Oh yeah, it's scheduled for 8. Okay. So immediately after this show at 8 p.m., we can all go and we can watch the premiere of our episode on the Bell Witch, which I'm excited for. How long is that one? I want to take a look. Oh, it's 20 minutes long. You guys have a treat. This was a fun one to research too. I'm gonna let myself talk about it in half an hour instead of talking about it right now because it wouldn't make a ton of sense. But yes, there's going to be a Bell Witch episode. Wait, how did this happen? We're smarter than this. You wouldn't get it.
What?
It's a Star Wars reference.
Oh, is it? I thought it was just...
Wait a minute, how did this happen? We're smarter than this. It's from episode 3. They get trapped in a force field. I made a whole bunch of Star Wars references last weekend when we were at a show with Tech Aiden. And we went back to his place after, and we drove separately from them. And we were like getting out of the car, and I think you said that you said I hate sand.
Yeah. Well, I know that reference. I know that it is a Star Wars reference. I
look at Kat and I go, I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough. It gets everywhere. And she didn't catch on.
I did catch on. I know that one quote. Do I know all of the quotes? No. Have I seen all of the Wars of the Stars? No. You know what? I haven't. Because I am a Trekkie. Live long and prosper.
Listen, I think that I think the main issue was that I expected you were going to know the rest of the quote. So I continued with it.
I don't know it line by line.
And the quote goes, I don't like sand. It's coarse and rough. And it gets everywhere. Not like you. You're soft.
Okay, that one I wasn't familiar with. That one doesn't make it into the mainstream gift sets. I'm sorry.
Which is hilarious because it's so uncomfortable. It's such an uncomfortable moment. And you're like,
well, it was equally uncomfortable when you said it to me as we were
exactly, because you didn't know. So, then it just sounded weird. Well, I
was like,
basically,
well, right,
guys, men who are watching, just don't quote Star Wars to women. It doesn't usually go well.
Don't make this a gender thing. You knew beforehand that I wasn't...
Wait, so you're telling me it's attractive when men know the entirety of the Star Wars script?
No, it's not attractive or it's unattractive. It is a thing. Everyone has their thing. Everyone has things that they like. There are, I bet, a lot of girls who find it extraordinarily attractive.
I actually did date one girl who could quote, we would speak in Star Wars quotes.
See, and that's cute. That's sweet. It's just not me. I'm just not that girl.
Yeah, she was...
I'm just not that girl.
She was part Chinese, and we were talking about China and everything, because obviously she's Chinese.
Just in general?
Yeah, just in general was like topic of conversation. I don't remember entirely how this came about.
Just the entirety.
But I was like, I had said something about teaching her how to do something. I was like, yeah, you can be my Padawan. And we were talking about China, and I was like, oh, you can be my Pandawan. And that was her nickname in my phone for the entire rest of our relationship. Which it was just it was one of those things that was adorable, but looking back on it, I'm like, man, that would have been super embarrassing to explain to somebody how nerdy that is. But it was a cool little thing. I think that's
sweet.
Exactly.
That's
I thought
sweet.
It was sweet. But I can't remember for the life of me what we were talking about though that got us to that point. But yeah, so basically, I'll rephrase. Quote Star Wars to women, and the right one will get it.
Exactly.
And the horrible ones will just look at you funny and make you feel bad, and then tell you that Star Trek is better.
I'm just waiting for the boy who quotes Star Trek to me. That's what I'm. Boy or girl. Or other.
Trying to think of a Star Trek quote.
There's so many.
I know, which is why it's upsetting that
There's literally like a billion seasons.
I know.
Like,
it's been so long since I watched it, though. Yeah.
I'm just out here waiting.
Huh. Why am I struggling with this? I'm going to start a wiki fandom of all of Aiden's exes. See, the problem is, like, almost all of them do, in some capacity, watch the show. Like, and I never use their names, but, like, if I tell these stories, because
how many panda ones could there possibly be?
I only ever tell
very specific
I only ever tell the good stories.
What do you mean you ever tell the good stories?
Like, I don't tell stories that make them look bad.
Why does that make a story good?
No, because I choose the stories that are, like, like happy stories, like good things,
I see what you're saying.
Good memories, yeah.
So,
but they definitely, the ones that do watch definitely know when I'm talking about them, and they've mentioned it to me on a few occasions.
That's toxic.
No, because they're like, generally it's like, I'm glad that you, like, can look back on things, like, through a good lens. But, yeah, we're getting into my personal life now, jeez.
We're only talking about putting together a wiki for all of your exes.
Right, yeah. My fan base wants a Wikipedia page for my ex-girlfriends and an OnlyFans, and, like, it's...
Get on it.
It's a bad time to be famous, Kat.
Get on it.
Also, I've pissed off so many people I went to high school with by saying I'm famous. And
Why do you say, quote, I'm famous?
Because I just want to fuck with them. Like, it's entirely to piss them off.
But... Isn't it better to be, like, not known as famous and then secretly famous?
I don't know. I didn't really have a good time in high school.
I mean,
as you can imagine, I was not very popular in high school.
Which is why I don't talk to a single person from high school.
See, like, all of my friends are people I met in high school.
I know, which is toxic.
They're not toxic. They're just going to be roasting Aiden and I live on camera in a couple weeks.
We should consider doing that pre-recorded.
So,
for the sake of community guidelines.
Here's what we're going to do. We discussed this today. We're going to have... Aiden is going to read... So we're going to have them write down their bullet points, essentially, like what the roasts are going to be.
Yeah.
Aiden is going to read the ones that are roasting me, and I'm going to read the ones that are roasting him before they get read to the audience. So basically we'll have an opportunity to veto stuff for each other without actually knowing what our individual roasts are going to be. And so our friends are going to be the ones that roast us. Mm-hmm. The roast masters are going to be two of my cousins. I'm expecting to get torn apart. And yeah, it was going to be tomorrow, but as a result of events, it's not going to be tomorrow.
Events.
No, there's a number of reasons it couldn't be tomorrow, like including people just couldn't make it.
Understandable.
So we're trying.
It is a lot of people to coordinate. I have to say that you're.
Yeah, we're all gonna make it easier. We're gonna do it at Aiden's place in Manayunk.
Logistically, okay.
So that's gonna make it a bit better because everyone lives in Manayunk, except me and you, but you're not part of that group.
I'm not part of any group.
That's your fault for moving so far from home. Like.
Fair, I guess. Damn. It's gotten deep tonight.
Kat and I have discussed moving to Nashville.
We have. We're not moving to Nashville. There's nothing to move to Nashville for. There's nothing. There's nothing.
It is bigger Phoenixville.
Nothing.
Oh, interesting. Interesting how now there's nothing.
Nothing.
I will save you the roast. I'll do it in private later.
I'm not involved. I'm not involved in this, right?
In the roast?
Yeah.
No. It's just for me and Aiden.
Perfect.
I mean, if you want to come and contribute, you're welcome to.
I feel like I should.
Oh God, you probably know more about my recent life than most of my friends do. Man, what the hell were we talking about? There was a subject for this. Oh, it was Easter.
Was it Easter? Oh, happy Good Friday, everyone.
Yeah, happy Good Friday, everybody. But the reason I wanted to bring it up is because this is lore related. All right? So, I got a couple questions on some videos last night, and every time there's a Christian holiday, there is this this thing that TikTok does where people try and claim that it's a stolen holiday from some sort of pagan tradition.
Oh, like Ishtar.
Yeah, except that in order for it to be Ishtar, then the word Easter would have to have come much earlier than it did. Easter is not the term in Latin or Greek.
Okay.
The Latin and Greek words are based off the Hebrew word Paschal. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but which is the Hebrew word for Passover.
Okay.
So the original word for Easter in Greek is Pascha. Again, don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly, but it's spelled that way. Mm-hmm. The original word is that, and it is simply a transliteration of Passover, of the word for Passover in Hebrew or Aramaic. It does not become Easter until it reaches the Germanic countries.
Okay.
At which point we get from the Venerable Bede, who is a 7th century historian, that 8th century? 7th century? 7th and 8th century? I think it's...
Some people straddle the millennium.
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head. But anyway, I'm thinking because the Synod of Whitby was in mid 7th century, so Bede was probably 8th century. Bede was 8th century. Nennius was 9th century. Oh my god. Flashbacks to my freshman year medieval 408 class. Why did I take a 400 level medieval history course as a freshman? The world may never know, but
good God, man!
It was it counted as an honors course because I was a freshman taking a 400 level. But yeah, so Easter as a term does not develop until it gets to the Germanic countries. Prior to that, it was just a transliteration of the word Paschal, which was Passover. So it can't have been Ishtar. Now Ishtar is a deity.
How do we get Easter from?
Eostre. There is, according to Bede, there is a Germanic goddess who is the goddess of spring and fertility, whose name was Eostre. And through the practice of Christianization, wherein the Catholic Church and the Greek Orthodox did it too, but where the Christian Church would go and preach, and rather than telling people that their gods were demons, or that their gods weren't real, mm-hmm. they would find a way to work the previous existing pagan belief into Christianity in hopes that over the course of several generations, eventually they'd no longer really care.
Okay, so it sounds like there is another deity.
So that's the thing. The only attested retelling of this goddess's existence comes from Bede in the 8th century.
Okay.
Long after the Anglo-Saxons had already converted to Christianity. Now, some of them were still practicing Norse paganism. Mm-hmm. That's true. Germanic paganism, which is similar to Norse paganism. But so we don't know if this goddess Eostre really existed or if Bede was just giving us an explanation. It's one of those things where there's so little written from that time that the only way to really know is from the sources, but sometimes the sources lie. Mm-hmm.
I think it's fair to say a lot of cultures though would have a springtime festival or like a springtime rebirth sort of like deity, because it's like crazy, right? If you don't know how the world works or like how the earth like turns and rotates and stuff, like how things just like get really cold and dead and then just magically come back. Exactly, and that's the thing is in Norse mythology, Germanic mythology, there are goddesses who are spring goddesses who are fertility goddesses. Freya, for example, is one who actually, ironically enough, Freya or Frigg, these may or may not be the same person. We can't. There's debate. I'm not a Norse mythology scholar. That is not my field of study. I will not speak over them. But the word Friday comes from the word for Freya's day. Really? Yes. So, or Frigg's day. So we're partying it up for our girl Freya. Yeah, so that's the thing though, is that it's Good Friday is actually etymologically related to Freya. Etymologically, that's a stretch. Even if Eostre was never a real goddess. So it's just funny that like this far down the line, we've adopted the word of the Norse goddess. You say like a real goddess as if
Well, rather than one that was just made up, like, on the spot. But basically, one that was worshipped versus one that was
so there's
written about.
A debate to whether or not she was worshipped.
The debate is whether or not she was ever actually, like, considered a real goddess by these people. Because I remember, they took this very seriously.
Mm-hmm.
So the debate is, was this a real goddess? Was Bede making something up? Now, we know with Celtic paganism, there was... generally, gods and goddesses were local.
Okay.
So
it could very well be a
local goddess of the Anglo-Saxons.
Gotcha.
So that's where the terms come from.
Mm-hmm.
For anyone who's curious, who's not Christian or wasn't raised Christian, who's interested in what this all celebrates, Good Friday is the commemoration of Jesus' crucifixion. He was crucified around 9 a.m. and died around 3 p.m. Which, if you think about what crucifixion is...
It's not a really good day.
Well, he died for our sins.
Yeah, but it's
good
not good.
It's good for us. It's the idea, at least. But yeah, so if you think about what that means, though, this man was nailed to a piece of wood, hanging there, for 6 hours before he died. Which is just horrible to think about, like, how much pain that is. And it is generally believed that, yes, this was a real event, that this did happen, that Christ was a real figure, and that he probably was crucified, because that was a very common form of punishment for criminals, especially enemies of the state. Famously during, I think, the Second Servile War, which was... You know it better as Spartacus. During that period, the Romans crucified people, I think it was like every 10 feet for something like 60 miles.
What?
From the site of the battle to Rome. I may be getting my exact numbers wrong, but that's the story, is that, like, they crucified that many people along the road to Rome, so that any slave who saw that would be like, oh.
That's excessive.
Yeah, and this was almost 200 years before Christ. So
that's insane.
Yeah, so that side of things, historically, it lines up that if there were a Jesus Christ, that he would have been crucified as a method of death.
Right.
Because what they wanted to do is they wanted to make an example of you. That was the whole point.
Right.
And they sure as hell did, except it went the exact opposite way they had planned. Which, ironically, is kind of how it went every time they crucified important people, was that would turn them into a martyr. The Romans were not good at figuring out this whole martyrdom thing. They didn't really have a good concept. Like, if you died in battle, that was heroic. That was great. They didn't see dying, like, being strung up on a cross. They didn't see that as, like, honorable. So for them, that was humiliation. Right. Whereas for the Jews, they're looking and they're like, oh, the Romans just killed the Son of God. Or at least the early Christians, who were all Jews. Because you got to remember, Judaism, Christianity began as an apocalyptic sect of Judaism. The idea was that we were entering the end times, and as a result, this is the Messiah. And if you actually have this argument between Christians and Jews, there's a fundamental misunderstanding between the two of them, which is that the Jewish position now is that the Messiah is supposed to fulfill specific prophecies during their lifetime, some of which are being a military general, basically Jesus fulfills a few of them, but not all of them.
Doesn't check all the boxes.
The Christian perspective is he will check the boxes during the second coming.
When he comes back.
The Jews
we'll get there.
say he has to check all the boxes before he dies.
Gotcha.
So that's where and again, that is an extraordinarily simplistic version of this. I'm not claiming that is the entire argument or the entire debate, but that's the fundamental difference between the two, in terms of, believing that Christ is the Messiah. Gotcha. And then there's Messianic Judaism, which is cross between the two, where Christ was the Messiah, but you're supposed to keep Mosaic law. It's all extremely complicated. So much to get into, and there's no way that we can actually do that before the premiere.
In 11 minutes, yeah.
So, but...
That is a much longer video.
Yeah. But it is... You said something earlier that I think was really really poignant, which was that all societies, all cultures have these spring festivals, these spring goddesses, these spring deities. And interestingly enough, it is usually a goddess, which I think is Like whenever summer and winter are usually male. Spring and fall are usually female, which is interesting because those are the times of growth and harvest. Whereas winter and summer are very extreme, like harsh. And so it's just interesting that universally this was recognized as like
masculine versus feminine and energy.
Yeah, it's just like when you look back at like the commonalities between human cultures, that is so cool to me. I'm not sure how it was in Native American religion because they're so separate from everything else. We know a bit about Aztec and Mayan and Inca. We don't know a ton about pre-contact Native American religion, but it does have some very interesting crossovers with things like Hinduism and Buddhism and even the Abrahamic faiths.
Okay.
And again, it's not universal across the continent, but they're like the Great Spirit, and they believe that people were born out of the dust of the earth. Like all of these things that are very common in a few specific versions. Like in the Abrahamic faiths, humans were made out of the dust of the earth. Like God made Adam out of clay and then breathed life into him. I don't know the exact specifics of the one Native American version, but it is, humans were sprouted out of the ground at the behest of the Great Spirit. So, and then there's differences because then you get into, Norse paganism. It does not follow the same track. You get into Greco-Roman paganism, does not follow the same track. The creation story for humans is not the same in those ones.
What's the creation story in those?
I don't recall the exact details, but I can look it up, though. That's the nice thing. I could be wrong about this. It's been a while since I studied those things.
Canadian Jesus is hungry. I'm hungry, too.
Let's see. Greek human creation myth. Yeah, so I know the Prometheus one. I don't know that they necessarily... Oh, no, I was wrong. That one son of the Titans, Prometheus, did not fight with fellow Titans against Zeus and was spared imprisonment. He was given the task of creating man. Prometheus shaped man out of the mud. And Athena breathed life into the clay figure.
From the mud and breathed life into...
So, yeah, I was wrong. That's very interesting. Also, I just read this one chat that's same bro, but I just murdered 4, and I was like, oh, where's this going? And it was eggs and 5 slices of bacon. But I was like, whoo! But I will take this last 8 minutes before the next video, which will be up at 8, and I'm gonna really quickly read through some of this. What do we got? Who's Mattis? Let's see. God was similar to a teenager acting out to get attention during creation to the end of Adam and Eve. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. God's the Judeo-Christian creation story is something that a lot of people have studied very extensively, and the issue is essentially that God was trying to create something with free will that the way I look at it, the way we talked about it in college, is that God was lonely, essentially. And he created man to be companionship. But he was, you can't eat from that tree. He gave them one rule, they break the rule. God's disappointed, he casts them out. And this early period is basically God going through this artistic process of trying to create humans in a way that they don't die constantly. And
trial and error.
It doesn't go very well, or
like
Satan
setting up a
interferes.
world of sea monkeys.
Yeah, it's just it's a very complicated process and story.
You have to aerate the tank with the bubbler so that they get enough oxygen. You have to feed them the right amount.
Sea monkeys were so
not too much, not too little. Well, it's phenomenal because the eggs survive freeze dry through all sorts of conditions. But then once you spring them and once you breathe life into them and put them in the water and they hatch, it's a lot.
My sister had sea monkeys for a little while. She also had a couple of those little river frogs.
Ooh.
that are supposed to die after like 9 months to a year.
What?
They lived like 5 years.
That's good. That's good.
No idea.
Pet ownership.
We like never.
That's responsible.
It wasn't good pet ownership.
What do you mean?
We did not take care of them very well.
You clearly did. I mean, if they're thriving.
Or the way that you're supposed to take care of them is completely wrong.
I feel like a lot of people sell like pets that are like temporary, and they don't have to. You know.
Yeah. Let's see.
People selling baby turtles on the subway. It's not right.
What else we got down here? I'd shove my sister out of the kitchen for bacon right now.
Horrible. Because I did not eat dinner
Yeah,
yet.
Kat needs to eat.
Nor did I eat lunch, if we're going to be really honest with ourselves.
I wish I had food to give you, but I'm a 24-year-old man who lives alone. I have nothing in my
That's
fridge.
true. I was out of town for a week, so I have like also nothing in my fridge. We'll just walk downtown and get something.
Let's see. All I have left are cheeseburgers, chips. Jesus is God's avatar. That is not far off from the actual Eastern Orthodox and Catholic doctrine surrounding this. Because the idea is that, and many Protestant sects, the idea is that Christ is not the Son of God. He is God as man.
Okay. Right.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Canadian Jesus. I'm sorry that I am not able to feed the chat. If I could take 5 loaves of bread and 5 fish and multiply them into many, I would do so.
This is so true. In honor of the weekend, we should have bread and fish and wine.
You would like that, wouldn't you?
I would like that.
Flexitarian.
I am.
Yeah, that's right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's some bread and some fish.
How you have no food? All right. Well, with the next video going live in 4 minutes.
True. It's a good time to sneak out.
We're gonna close this stream, and I'm gonna hop over into that premiere. That will go live in. It'll be available in 3 minutes, and it will be visible. Like it'll do a 2-minute countdown, and then it'll start 2 minutes in. So at 8:02 p.m. that video will start, and I'm gonna end this stream and then pop over there so everybody can watch. And I hope you will all join us. It's about the Bell Witch. And to answer that one quick question, yes, Wendigoon will be back. We're just not entirely sure when because he is a very busy man. So we will see you on the flippity flip. Thanks for stopping by the Lore Lounge. Why is this not working?